Alright, welcome back guys. This is my 100th video. I have done 100 of these now, so I thought for this one I should do something special. I was trying to think of something to do. I thought maybe I should do like a really bad pay-per-view, ECW, December to Dismember, something like that. But because of all the recent Rock stuff and The Rock getting chanted Tooth Fairy, I figured I would do the movie The Tooth Fairy. And this was just so cheesy and over the top. It was really goofy. And I have to say that I guess if you have kids or something like that, they could get some enjoyment out of this. It's just such a crazy, goofy concept. And for it to star The Rock really just puts it over the top. That being said, when I was looking for this movie, because this came out in 2010, I found out that there's actually one that came out in 2012 with Larry the Cable Guy. So it's like they read my mind. How can we improve on this concept? Let's put him in the sequel. I have no idea. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. But yes, there is a Tooth Fairy 2 with Larry the Cable Guy. But, yeah. I mean, it is a joke. It is funny to say, hey, Rock, you were the Tooth Fairy and all that type of stuff. But to be honest, looking at the box office, its budget was like 40 million something, and it made over 100 million. So The Rock got paid big time for this. And not only that, but it shows that he is a box office draw, and he probably got more offers just because he did the Tooth Fairy. So I guess it worked out for him. But still, being the Tooth Fairy, that's a tough one, especially if you come back to wrestling. Of course people are going to make fun of that. But I had no idea what this was even about. I just knew he became a Tooth Fairy somehow. So watching the movie, and this was like an hour and 40 minutes. But watching the movie, he's a hockey player. So it starts off and we're at a hockey game, and all these people have signs that have to do with Tooth Fairy for The Rock, Derek Thompson. And they call him the Tooth Fairy because he always knocks out other hockey players' teeth. In the beginning, he knocks out this one guy's tooth, and he starts making these bad jokes. You can't handle the tooth. I pledge allegiance to the tooth. And, I mean, I don't know. It was just really weird. Some bad comedy here. So the locker room, we see the coach telling him to take care of this young guy. That Ryan Sheckler, I think his name is. He's like a skateboarder or something. But that's the rookie kid, and he's supposed to be like this new up-and-coming hockey player. So they tell The Rock to take care of him, but he kind of insults The Rock and says, "Oh, you're still here, Grandpa," or something like that. So The Rock leaves, and he's signing autographs, and he's kind of pissed off, and he tells this one little kid who asks if he can be a hockey player, he says, "I remember watching you back when you were in the big leagues," and it kind of makes him mad, so he says, "You'll never be a great hockey player." So he's kind of a dick in the beginning, and he leaves and he goes home to his girlfriend, and she has 2 kids, a little girl who really likes Derek, and then a son who doesn't like him at all. So she leaves and he's babysitting him. He's playing cards with his friends. They're drinking juice boxes. He's short on money, so he goes upstairs, and the little girl loses a tooth, and he goes up there and he takes her Tooth Fairy money. Pretty low, Rock. I mean, that's some heel stuff right there. So the little girl wakes up, tells her mom the Tooth Fairy never came, and Derek just wants to give her some money and tell her there's no such thing as the Tooth Fairy. But the mom gets mad, stops him, tells him he shouldn't do that, and tells him he needs to leave. So The Rock goes home. Derek goes home, and he's sleeping, and under his pillow he finds a summons. And all of a sudden he grows wings, a tornado cloud thing appears in his room, and he gets sucked into fairy world. They tell him he's going to have to spend some time as a Tooth Fairy. He tries to escape. He meets his caseworker, who is this tall, really tall guy named Tracy, and he gets in a fairy fight with him. They use magic wands. The head fairy comes down and says they're acting like leprechauns. She tells him that he's there because he's killing dreams and fantasy. Something I didn't get about this: he's there because he almost told the girl there is no tooth fairy, but I'm pretty sure he never told her that. So technically he didn't break any laws. But that's it. I'm not going to overanalyze this movie. So he would normally only have 1 week, but since he calls himself the Tooth Fairy and mocks them, he has to serve 2 weeks as a Tooth Fairy. So Derek gets put into a... And by the way, during all of this, he's wearing a pink female Tooth Fairy outfit with a leotard and a tutu. So he finally gets put into a male fairy costume, which is blue. It's like a suit, and he's got his wings, and he meets Billy Crystal. He's on the phone. He says, "Never marry a leprechaun." So Billy Crystal runs the fairy warehouse, and he gives him a magic wand, some other tricks like invisibility spray, a shrinking paste, some mints that make people bark like dogs. I don't know the purpose of that one. Some cataway spray. It's like a air horn. When you blow it, the cats just jump up in the air. And some amnesia dust. When you throw it in someone's face, they forget whatever happened like the past 20 seconds or something like that. So then they teach him how to fly, and they hit tennis balls at him. He gets sworn in, and he agrees not to drink and fly. He can't fly anyways because he's got a bad shoulder from hockey. So he has to walk to all the houses, or drive. They say if he fails an assignment, he gets another week, and he can't tell anybody he's a Tooth Fairy, or he'll be there for an indefinite amount of time. So they send him back to Earth. He apologizes to his girlfriend and agrees to spend some one-on-one time with Randy, her son. He gives her son an autograph hockey stick, and Randy says, "I'll tell my mom you're pretty cool, just stop trying to bond with me." So he goes home, and he's trying to have a romantic evening with his girlfriend, and the phone goes off, and it's another assignment. He immediately grows wings, and he can't get rid of the wings until he gets the tooth. So he's got to kind of sneak out of the house. He pretends he's sick. His caseworker meets him at the house of the kid with the tooth, and he says he can't fly. How am I supposed to get in here? Well, he tells him to eat the shrink spray, and he'll have an hour before he gets big again. So he goes in the house. The kid sees him, knocks him off the bed. Of course, he gets chased by a cat. He uses the cataway spray, escapes. He goes home to see his girlfriend, but he's still not big. He's like medium-sized at this point, so he has to say he's still sick. I don't remember him ever saying he was leaving. So he comes home, and he's like sneaking in, and she says, "Hey, come cuddle with me," or something like that. But he just sent her back inside to get some medicine or something, and then took off. So I was wondering like why she didn't say anything about like, where the hell were you? You keep getting these weird calls on your phone, and then you take off. Like, where are you going? Who are you talking to? No, she just kind of goes along with it. So the next day he's at a hockey game. Everybody's cheering for the cocky new kid. He gets an assignment on the scoreboard, and he has to go. So he misses a block for the new kid, and he gets pissed off. And in the locker room, he's like wanting to talk to him, but he's starting to get the wings. So he runs and hides in the bathroom. His friends come in and say, "What the hell's going on in here?" They see he's wearing these like blue tights under the door, and they say, "Come out or we're coming in." So he has to escape. So he eats the shrink spray and flushes himself down the toilet. He shows up at the house. He walks in. This time he's pissed off, so he just takes the amnesia dust and just throws it in everyone's face. This part was actually really funny. He gets back to the fairy world, and the fairy godmother tells him that he has another assignment, but the kids have to be asleep before he can go. So he has to wait in the fairy break room. He waits all night, and then he gets a text saying the assignment's canceled. The next day, his girlfriend drops off Randy for Derek to watch him, and Derek takes him to the music shop. Randy picks out a guitar and starts playing it. A girl comes over and talks to him. Then a bully comes up and calls him emo boy or something like that. And Derek comes over and scares the bully off, so they start to kind of get along. Back at the house, they're playing cards, and him and Randy are getting closer. He says, "Can I ask you something?" Derek thinks it's about puberty, so he starts giving him the speech. But he says, "No, it's not that. It's about this talent show at school." So his girlfriend comes back, and she wants to go to dinner, but he gets another assignment. So this time he goes to the house. He uses invisible spray. He pretends he's a ghost and accidentally hits himself with the amnesia dust. He tells the fairy godmother he needs more supplies, but she says that they're short on supplies because kids aren't believing anymore. Unicorns, leprechauns, and dragon departments have all been shut down permanently. It's just so ridiculous. Like, what would a unicorn department even consist of? And where would they go? Or dragons, for God's sake. So he's leaving her office and he bumps into a black market fairy supplier named Ziggy, who is actually Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy. He sells him a bunch of stuff and he goes to try and use it, but of course it doesn't work. The invisible spray, you can still see him. The shrink spray makes his head get all big, so the lady in the house thinks he's an alien and calls the police. He gets put in jail. His girlfriend has to bail him out of jail, and he uses amnesia dust on her because she thinks he's been running off because he's afraid of commitment. So he keeps coming up with bad answers, so he keeps having to dust her and then come up with another response, and he's like, "Oh, that one was even worse," and dust her again, all in front of a police officer, who, after he finally gets a good response and she kisses him, she's like, "Oh, it's okay." Police officer's just like, "Man, I need me some of that stuff." So, so that was it. Then he meets his caseworker and he says, "I can get you more supplies, but your sentence has been extended, and you can only get more supplies if you follow the rules and embrace the fairy spirit." So from now on, he goes out wearing his hockey gear, just ready for business, and he goes on some more assignments. At the next hockey game, he goes invisible and beats up the rookie kid, and he gives him a dog mint, so he starts barking. Then he's practicing for the talent show with Randy. The caseworker tells him that he wants to be a tooth fairy, but he doesn't have wings. So we get a short little montage of Derek teaching the caseworker how to be a fairy without wings, because he's a tooth fairy but he can't fly, so he can still do it. So he's like, "The caseworker, you can do this even though you don't have wings." What I don't understand, he's a fairy without wings, the caseworker. If they can just give a regular guy like Derek or The Rock wings, why can't they just give the caseworker wings if he wants them so bad? But anyway, they show a montage of him teaching the caseworker how to be a tooth fairy. He's practicing with Randy for the talent show. He's practicing his hockey skills. So everything's going good. Randy asks if he can be a great guitar player someday. And The Rock's about to tell him the odds are against him, like he told the little kid he wanted an autograph. But he decides not to and says, "Yeah, you can be a great guitar player." So at the hockey game, he blows it. He had a shot, and he could have passed it to the rookie, but he decided to go for it, but he froze, and he took a bad hit. So the coach is yelling at him. He's had a horrible day. He comes home. His girlfriend's there with the kids. Randy wants to practice for the talent show, and he says, "I've had a bad day. I don't feel like it right now." And he's like, "Oh, come on, the talent show's tomorrow." And The Rock gets really mad and says, "You're never going to be a rock star," and insults the kid. The kid takes his guitar and breaks it, and the girlfriend gets really mad and breaks up with him. His caseworker comes home to celebrate getting a tooth fairy pass so that he can try and be a tooth fairy. But Derek tells him he doesn't have wings, so he'll never be a tooth fairy. He's just mad, just being a dick to everybody at this point. So he goes back to a hockey game, and he's playing kind of bad. He takes a hit, and he looks up and he sees the caseworker still rooting for him, even after he said all that stuff to him. So he goes for another shot, and he makes it, and he gets the respect of the rookie kid. He starts to feel things turning around, and the caseworker says, "You got an assignment." Derek says he wants to finish the game, and the caseworker says, I can cover for you, but once you see the address, you may want to do it yourself. And it's the girlfriend's daughter. So he says, I'll go. He grows the wings in front of everybody at the hockey stadium, and he can finally fly. He flies up into the air in front of all these people just staring at him in silence, and he goes into the tornado cloud thing. The caseworker then comes out on a Zamboni and shoots all the people with a gigantic amnesia spray gun. So The Rock gets to the house and he tells the little girl, I'm really the Tooth Fairy. He uses magic to fix Randy's guitar, and the girlfriend wakes up and says, you rented a Tooth Fairy outfit. That's so sweet. So she's happy that she thinks he went to all this trouble, so everything's good again in the house. They won't make it to the talent show in time, so he takes Randy and flies while the mom and daughter drive there. Once he arrives, he amnesias him, and then he goes to Fairy World. He tells the fairy godmother that he believes in dreams, and he's embraced the fairy spirit. So she relieves him of Tooth Fairy duty, and then she gives the caseworker some metal wing badge, making him a Tooth Fairy. So Derek gives him his fairy bag. They tell him he won't remember anything that happened in Fairyland, and he tells the caseworker that they will email each other and Facebook and read each other's blogs. So he makes it to the talent show in time. Derek proposes to the girlfriend. They decide to get married. The movie ends. During the credits, we see Derek is back in the NFL, or the NHL. Billy Crystal's at his game, along with the fairy godmother, but he doesn't remember any of them. And then we see Billy Crystal shrink himself and ride the hockey puck. And when he gets to the goal, he cataways the goalie. He flies into the air, and the puck lands in the goal. So it was just so perfect of an ending. Everything turned out great. He's back in the NHL. He's getting married. Kids love him. He's a much better person because of his experience as a Tooth Fairy. I just thought it was really cheesy, but then again, this movie's not made for me to watch. This is made for children to watch. I assume it's rated G. So that's my review of the Tooth Fairy. Yeah, there's not much more to say about this. I guess if you have young kids, they might like it. But even if you think you want to watch this movie just to laugh at The Rock and how bad this movie is, don't watch this movie. It's not worth an hour and 40 minutes. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. So that's my review of the Tooth Fairy. I hope you guys like the review. Like I said, 100 videos. I can't believe it. That's a lot of videos, and I appreciate everybody who's been watching them, who subscribe to the channel, who leaves comments, and who requests movies. I appreciate all that stuff, guys, and liking the videos and all that stuff. So thank you so much to that, and hopefully I can do another special at 200 videos. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and check out some of my other videos on the channel if you haven't seen them. I have a bunch of movie reviews up. So that's it for this video, and I guess I'm going to watch TNA Impact now for that review. So it gets bad and then it gets worse. But yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Bye.